What's up, guys? Welcome to Full Count. My name is Steven. This is Andrew. That's Nick out in the East Coast. Today, we're going to talk about basically a little bit of our backgrounds, why we started this channel, and we're going to give you some examples on some of our Full Count moments and how we overcame adversity. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining, and enjoy the show.
3 balls, 2 strikes, pressure is on. This is where we discuss real estate, property improvement, and business. Together, we'll strategize on how to win. Welcome to the Full Count.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on another episode of Full Count. And as Steven mentioned, we're going to be going over a couple of topics today. So a bit of our background, why you should care about us, what the show is going to be about, and what value you're going to get from it. So with that, I guess I'll hand it off to Andrew to kick off on a bit about himself, his background, how he got into real estate, and kind of where he is now.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, Nick, we want to give value to everyone that's listening and watching. So we hope our stories and our advice or comments help you. So with that being said, my background, I'm a real estate agent here based in Beverly Hills, but I work throughout Southern California. I got into the business around 2015 as an intern, and then now I've been a realtor for about, I think, 7 years.
Nice. Oh, wow. Okay.
Intern? You started as an intern?
Yeah, low-level intern, pushing paper, being a gopher, getting dry cleaning.
Wait. Okay, so before you came as an intern, what were you doing there? What were you doing before?
Okay. So before that, from like 2012, 2014, I was in the tech startup that I founded.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was extremely difficult. I had like 3 jobs I was working, and I was running a startup, right? And I needed capital. So I had some programmers based in UCLA and then other places as well. We built out this mobile app, which was an advice app for people. And I needed capital. So what I did is I cold called the guys on a $1 million listing Bravo TV show in LA. And I said, hey, I got through the secretary and whatnot. And eventually I landed a phone call with one of them and said, hey, I have this idea. He's like, who the hell is this? And then I told him. Yeah, I told him this quick idea. I said, hey, I know you're busy, but this is my idea. Just want to see if we can sit down very briefly at your office. Yeah. I'll make it very convenient for you. So he goes, all right, let's do it. So I sit down with these 3 guys and Josh Altman. Actually, it's 2 at that time. Josh Altman, Sam Reel. I pitch them the idea. They're like, this is a good idea. Come back when you kind of go a little bit further. I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll do it. 6 months later down the line, I call them up again. They're like, oh, you need money now? Are you ready? I'm like, no, I kind of ran out of funds already. The servers were too expensive. I want to be your intern. They said, done, let's go. And that's how it started.
And then that led to real estate?
That was an internship position for the realtors.
Gotcha.
So the goal was to become a realtor. Although, like, throughout my life, I never cared about real estate or wanted to be a real estate agent. I kind of just fell in place.
Or you finagled your way in.
Yeah, I was a hustler, man. So like, even before that, when I was in high school, I was thinking of working like at Warner Brothers.
Nice.
And the movie production series and all that. But I literally would knock on the movie production door and speak to the security guard and ask them if I can come in just to get a job application. They're like, oh, it's online, I was like, no, I understand that, but I just want to get my foot in the door. Long story short, they turned me away each time.
What were you looking to do at Warner Brothers?
I just wanted to be, so in college, I took an acting class because I wanted to break out of my shell because I've always been an introvert. Mm-hmm. And I took an acting class. I fell in love with, movies and whatnot. I've always liked movies to begin with. And I just want to do something in the background, like a producer, get the location, get some of the actors for the specific movie or whatever, and be on the business side of it. And then low key, I was like, if I could land a role as a background or like a little sidekick person, I would do that too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, being out there in LA, that's the thing to do, right? That's why
everyone wants to be an actor and everyone wants to be a realtor.
Exactly. Now, so did that have anything to do with the tech startup that you founded after that?
That's a good question. Sort of. So I have no background in the entertainment industry, no background in real estate as far as like my family or friends. And I had trouble breaking through the movie scene. And I was like, what if I could actually reach out to someone that could help me, that's willing to help me? And I said, well, I should create a tool where I can connect with someone that's an expert in their craft and ask them for advice and make it a community of people that can exchange ideas. And essentially, the person giving advice would be the one that would get rated on that advice, like the Yelp for the individual.
Gotcha.
At that time, I was in Silicon Valley trying to, get attention for it and to meet other entrepreneurs. And they told me at the time, you know what, I think this is too soon of a technology. I don't know if people are ready for it yet. This was right before Instagram was even a thing. So it was very new. I think Vine was hot at the time.
Yeah, I remember Vine.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think Vine was hot at the time. They're like, I don't know if this is going to be, I think this is too soon for its time. And also, I called it reply soon because I wanted people to set their availability to provide advice. But lo and behold, I thought people really cared about their time and wouldn't waste time on the phone. I was totally wrong, as we see people spend hours looking at videos that make no sense. And that kind of led me to creating that idea. I'm glad I did it because it connected me and landed me in the right spot with everything. And that's kind of how I met my fiance too. I reached out to reporters to get attention on the app, and yeah, it's a long story. It was a good time.
I didn't know that's actually how you met.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
You guys know?
No.
Yeah. So when I had the app out around the time I met the realtors, I was hitting up reporters saying, "Hey, can you do a story on my idea?" And Melissa was one of them.
Yeah.
She was a reporter at the time in Texas, and we connected like on a professional level for about a year, and then we started dating like a year or so later.
So what ended up happening with the tech startup? We know what happened with you and Melissa. You guys are engaged now, so congratulations on that.
so yeah, my tech startup, my failure, right? And by the way, I'm not a programmer. I've always been like a general student, B student in high school, played baseball, and it was a failure, unfortunately, my tech startup. That one tech startup I did. But it landed me where I am today, sitting here with you guys in Beverly Hills, and then you being in the East Coast, Nick. And then it got me my fiance. So I think that's why it's good to go out and try and get whatever you want in life and just attempt it. If you fail, who cares? I'm sure it's going to piece things together for you like a puzzle and land you where you want to be.
Right. I mean, there really are no failures, right? It's a learning opportunity.
It's a learning opportunity. Yeah. And if you're not failing, that means you're not really trying.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
What would you say your full count moment is? If you had like a turning point or somewhere where there was like a lot of maybe like a big decision you had to make,
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a lot of those moments every day, but I do remember this one time a couple of years ago with a celebrity client of mine. It was stressful because it was celebrity, high caliber person, business managers involved, attorneys involved in the deal. I had to get photos done for the property, and the client of mine said, "You have X amount of hours to get this executed, and after that, the hell with it." So I had to call gardeners to, improve the landscaping of the property at the time. And unfortunately, time was getting very limited. And they came over, and these gardeners, man, they were not good. They were lazy. They were lazy. And I said, "Guys, I need this done immediately because I'm doing a photo shoot today." So they're lazy. And I hear one of them, because I told them very politely, right? I was in a suit, and then one of the guys, they were speaking Spanish. He's like, este hombre es una princesa. Something like that.
A little princess.
Yeah. So I was like, I heard that, and I went to the bathroom. I brought like a extra. I always have an extra pair of clothes.
You put your crown on, and you're like,
no, imagine that. No, I put on like workout clothes, and I started grabbing like these bags of what do you call it? Gosh, why am I blanking?
Construction bags, like the big black ones, or
no, like mulch.
Oh,
mulch.
Okay.
I grabbed these bags of mulch and started hiking up the driveway, and I started helping them. And the guy's like, "Oh wow, you're helping us." I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I want to get this done." Then I earned the respect, and I started sweating. It sucked, but I wasn't prepared to do that. But I was boxed in a certain position where I had to execute, get them to finish, do the photo shoot, and unfortunately, they finished on time. I would say a lot of that was my help because I was the one bringing, these things up and down.
Mule.
Yeah, I was the mule, but I got it done, and I wasn't complaining. And
I feel like
we finished.
Getting something done like that for a big client,
you have to do.
I mean, the referrals after is what helps out sometimes too, right? Just
100%. However, the client of mine wasn't at the house, so she had no idea I did all this.
I know, but you got it done. And
I got it done, and she's like, now she'll remember. Oh, he was on time. Maybe she didn't even care, but He had very limited time. He did everything on time and finished when I wanted it done. But of course, I didn't tell her. Oh, by the way, I ended up being a gardener for the day.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest values from that story, though, is that you're never, too high or too mighty or too above anybody else, right? To actually get in and get your hands dirty.
100%. That's why.
And he could have just complained and been like, "These guys are lazy." Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I could have complained.
I could have them around.
I could have ordered them around, been mean to them, and they would have definitely not finished the job. Yeah. By the time the photographer would have got there, the landscaping would still look like crap because there was weeds everywhere, and we needed to put this mulch to make it look nice and pretty. And then they were putting in some agave plants and whatnot. But it ended up working out. But if I would have complained or been too stressed out and I couldn't do it, it would have been a bad situation. I probably would have got fired. I ended up selling the home in the Hollywood Hills, and everything turned out great. So I think what you said, Nick, is right on the money. You really just got to go out and execute and not feel like you're high and mighty, and you just got to get down and dirty and do what needs to be done.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we'll be going through a lot more examples
for sure
of that, throughout the show. So that's, one of the main points of it.
And
I mean, now, now you being a realtor there in LA, most of your clientele would you say are more affluent clients, more like, middle class, or how would you categorize them?
I would say, I have clients of all type ranging in different incomes, but I primarily aim for like high middle class to upper middle class just because of the price points.
Right. Okay. No, good. And I mean, that's more or less how you've met Steven, right?
Yeah. So Steven, give us your background, because we did end up falling in line with each other. And
it's funny because Andrew and I have actually had a conversation before while playing catch.
Yeah.
And we've had similar things. I was also in a startup. I was also at some point where I was like, I don't know what's going on here. And then I ended up meeting him. Anyways, a little bit about myself.
Good times.
Let's see. I went to school, graduated as a social worker. I was from living in Hawaii, playing college baseball, freaking dream life, like beautiful island. You're in college and playing sports, so you think life is amazing. You don't really have any things to worry about. Right. Then reality hit, man. I came to LA. I was working in Skid Row, in and out of jail. Not because I was in jail, but I was working with clients. Homeless people. To be on my caseload, you had to be chronically homeless. You had to have 2 co-occurring disorders, and then you had to be a nonviolent felon. So if you had those 3 criteria, you would fall under my caseload.
That's intense.
So I went from living in Hawaii,
exactly?
A social worker.
You were a social.
So basically,
you went to school for it, right?
Yeah. So I graduated, came to LA, like I said, from Hawaii, beautiful stuff, to LA, which is where I was born and raised, but I never really spent much time in Skid Row. So I had to go to jail. I would, fill out a bunch of paperwork. If they fell under my type of client, then they would come under my caseload. It was my job to find them housing, income, you name it. I had to put them back into society.
Sure.
So I did that for about 2.5 years. And man, when they tell you that you take things home from work, you really do. Like I started getting basically just negative. I'd be like a negative person. And I would hear these stories of people who had really messed up lives and backgrounds. And then I would kind of look at my life, and if I was complaining about something, I'd be like, it's not that bad. It's not even that bad, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Or if somebody told me, like my girlfriend, Norelli, if she would tell me something, I'd be like, I would be like, dude, are you kidding me? I just heard some other person talk about how this, and that. I became mean. I didn't like it. So I called one of my best friends at the time, Zach. Hope we have him on here sometime. He's a great dude. And I was telling him, man, I can't handle this. Like, this is crazy. I'm literally living in Skid Row, like walking around needles, and it was just bad. And he's like, dude, just leave, man. You have the opportunity. Go leave. There's so many things you can do. And I actually ended up running into an old baseball buddy who had a startup, and I helped him work the startup. I did that for about 6-7 months. We were backed by Fandango. Everything was going great.
That's impressive.
And then one day they're like, oh, yeah, your funding's cut. And you don't have a job now. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
So I went to my sister's house. I happened to be working with, my sister happened to be with a jeweler. This guy named Chase Gregory.
Great guy.
Chase.
Great guy.
Great dude. And he heard me telling my sister, I just lost my job literally like 2 hours ago. I don't know what to do. His company was growing, and he's like, hey, I need a right-hand man. Basically, like, why don't you come in tomorrow, see what you think. The next day I was working, and then it just stayed there. That's where I met Andrew.
Yep.
About
Things lined up.
About a beautiful watch. And yeah, this whole time, I was actually doing construction on the side with my dad. My dad is an architect and contractor. So the whole time, like, I would work weekends with my dad ever since I was a kid, doing a lot of construction. Never really thought I was going to be doing that full time, but I always would tell my dad, hey man, I love this. This is cool. I love building things with my hands. I love getting down and dirty. I love figuring out problems. And I didn't care if I was outside in the sun working. It was fun to me. It was like,
That was your side hustle then at that time.
at my time, it was
while
my
you were
side
selling
hustle.
jewelry.
While selling jewelry, while doing the startup, while being a social worker.
Okay.
I was
But
always,
your dad is like a craftsman. I mean, he was an architect, right?
right. Yeah. So my dad's always been doing it. My dad's amazing at it.
great guy too.
And I love work. I love my dad. My dad's like one of my best friends, and working with him is just great.
Yeah.
So after working in the jewelry business for a while, we started really getting busy, especially during the pandemic. You know, people were upgrading.
Great timing in a way too. Everything
Yeah.
everything kind of lines up when you go after
And
what
you
you
know,
want.
right? Like in the pandemic, all everybody was like, "Oh, I need to convert this spare
House
room into
improvement.
an office," or
For sure.
blah 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 blah. So it just kind of like God grew and grew and grew, and got to the point where I was like, Dad, I kind of have some experience running a company now, because for the jewelry thing, that's what I would do. I do all the books, manage
right-hand man.
project management. Yeah, I was basically just chasing that. So I was like, why don't we just start a company? He's like, that's a good idea. So we took the test, got our license, became general contractors. It's been about almost 2 years now of doing that. Yeah, about a year and a half. And
Dope.
that's where I ended up, I
Nice.
met you, met Nick. Now we have this awesome podcast where we get to talk.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
so do you focus just on contracts that you get, that you're doing work for other people? Or are you
Yeah.
also in like investing yourselves, fixing, flipping, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so my goal is to also invest. I bought a house recently, about a year ago. I bought a house, so that was, my first one. My goal is to have 2 houses by 30. I'm 28. So I got about a year and a half to get a second property.
Nice.
And then hopefully this guy can help me out.
Yeah.
And the goal is to just keep
This
buying
time.
property. I
Next-
want to keep buying property.
Yeah. No, but you do multiple like your clientele ranges. It's kind of like mine too, right? I
Yeah.
see you do multi-million dollar homes. I also see you do like general homes, like 800 to $1 million dollars and whatnot.
Yeah, so and they've been ranging anywhere from San Dimas, if you guys aren't local, it's a little bit east, Hacienda Heights, to Woodland Hills area, Calabasas. So yeah, it's right now the main focus is managing different projects when they're going at the same time, working with different subcontractors if need be, and basically also getting my hands dirty.
What's the name of the company?
CNC Construction and Remodeling.
There you go. What is
CNC
it?
for Camberos and Camberos. That's my dad.
Dad and you. Good.
So yeah.
Entrepreneur here.
Awesome. Yeah. So what would you say your number one full count moment was so far?
Man, my full count moment, I think, was when I decided to leave social work. I think I felt like I was kind of trapped, doing something. And it was hard because out of all the clients that I had, I've had over 200 clients that I worked with in those 2.5 years or so. There was like one person that I can tell you that I actually really helped.
Changed.
Yeah. And believe me, I busted my ass trying to help people. And it's just, you would work for months, get them something, and then they would just throw it away. And it was so heartbreaking for me too, and for them. And it was just a nightmare.
That's a mind game being a social worker.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I think my moment was, deciding to leave, because I was like, I went to school for this, I graduated for this. This is what I've been working for. And now it's something that I literally cannot do. I can't stand. I had more fun getting freaking down and dirty under a house, soldering some pipes with my dad. And I was like, why did I go to school? And, I wouldn't change anything of my education as far as going to school and doing all that, because I feel like all that made me the person I am today.
Right.
But I was in that moment where I was like, man,
You're kind of vulnerable.
yeah.
Because you had a plan, go to school, become a social worker, and it was all working out. But then you deviated away
And
from
then life hit you, and you're like, damn, this isn't really cool. Like,
Well, I mean, that goes
Skid Row.
to show you that, you go for what you think you would like to do, what you would like to enjoy, right?
Hmm.
And then you
Side
give it a
hustle with
try.
your dad
And if it doesn't
during that
work out, you
time.
don't like it, yeah, then you could always do something else.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that was my big, full count moment where I could either leave, I could stay, and who knows, maybe I would have stayed, and today I would have been, a big old grump, being angry at
Yeah,
the
but
We would have
world.
never met, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I would have probably never seen you.
But I mean,
So
knowing you, Steven, you seem like more of an empathetic, type of guy,
nah,
and
thanks, Nick.
so am I. And
He's a nice
to be
guy
in
for
that
sure.
field, yeah, you have to be able to separate yourself, mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
from the clients that you're dealing with, from the people that you're dealing with. Otherwise, you absorb their energies, what they've been through.
Their
and it just-
hardship, man. Yeah.
yeah,
It feels like
It's
their
tough.
issues become like, because you want to help
your
them.
own.
And you take it home with you,
And
right?
you take it home
From
and,
the
and you're
job.
like, you're just thinking about them like, man, I couldn't find this guy a house today. So now he's living on the street. Like,
Yeah,
like some dude doesn't even have a tent or anything. Like he's on the
Yeah.
freaking curb.
And
And
you
that's
feel like
because
it's
I
your
couldn't
fault.
find him anything, and now I wake up
Mhm.
the next morning like I got to get there and go help this guy.
Dang.
And
Right.
you just keep
What a
going
battle
and
every
you
day,
get
man.
barriers, and then the city and the county and it doesn't give you funding and blah 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 blah. And it's like, damn, it was just
Mhm.
bad. But yeah,
But I mean, it also goes to show you that there's, no matter how hard it gets or what situation you're in, there's always somebody out there who has a worse off situation, who has it harder. So,
absolutely.
For sure.
don't,
And
don't
that's the way
think
to
that
get
you have
by, I
the
think.
worst. Mhm.
Yeah, whenever I have a bad day, I think, okay, well, I could be in a way worse situation right now.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're looking at it from a world perspective, I don't know. I think there's a statistic out there that if you make over like $37,000 a year, this is like from the world, you're considered like the top 10% or 1% of the world, something like that.
Yeah.
Because
That's what
most people don't even, I mean, in Mexico, I grew up going to Mexico all the time, families in Mexico. A lot of people don't make much money out there.
No.
So,
And
Yeah.
I love, like, I'm proud to be in America. I love living in this country, and that's one thing that I always think of is at least I'm in a place where there's opportunity.
yes. Yes. If you're
Because you
go
could
looking
be
for it, you'll get it.
in a really bad situation, and I'm sure there's people who have way worse situations in mind when I was a social worker, but you still have the opportunity to be like, I'm going to completely change 180 and do something else, and especially, I mean, in LA, there's opportunity to make money everywhere
Yeah.
as long as you hustle and you grind. So
But it's a matter of hustling and grinding, though.
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to.
Yeah.
Nick, how about you? Give us
Nick's definitely not in
Yeah.
New York, guys.
No, just a Yankees fan. Just a Yankees fan.
you can't
originally
rock
from
a
New York.
Yankee hat though in Boston, can you? I don't think so.
Yeah, I can.
It'll be fun, huh? You're like,
Maybe it's safe.
I don't think I'm brave enough to do something like that.
That's actually so. I've been to pretty much at least a Yankees game once every year, and they're fun. They're good times.
It's a great team.
But yeah.
I've always
Yeah.
wanted to go to a Yankee game, man.
Yeah, no, you guys got to come over here one day, and we'll go. But yeah, so I guess a bit of background on me. So originally from New York, so I'm a Yankees fan. But I grew up in Florida, so it's South Florida, East Coast. It's pretty much like the second Northeast. All the New Yorkers, New Jerseyans, a lot of people from the Northeast went and moved down there over the past number of decades, right?
Yeah.
So grew
More
up
so
down
now.
there. Yeah, exactly. So grew up down there. Went to school at the University of Florida. Got my bachelor's degree in political science, entrepreneurship, business. So there, I was highly involved in the entrepreneurship space, the startup space, right? Helping some other, student startups really get started, get investment funding, all of that. And then I ended up graduating and just kind of falling into banking and finance. So I worked for JP Morgan Chase for just about 3 years doing private banking, wealth management in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So more affluential clients. And I tell you, some of the characters that I saw, it was an experience. It was
Suit and tie every day, right? I would
Yeah,
imagine.
suit and tie every day, of
I
course.
love that. I like that culture. I don't know. How about you? Do you like that culture, Nick? The being around the suit and tie environment? Because that's kind of more me, but
I mean,
I think that's a dream job in a way.
not every day. I think it's unnecessary, especially nowadays, right? So I mean, I've been working remote for the past, I don't know, like 6 years, 5-6 years now, and it's just so much more time efficient, you know?
But when you were at JP Morgan, you switched over to what industry at that
Yeah,
point?
yeah. So when I was there, what I was doing, I started to really dislike it. It just wasn't what I wanted to do, right? If I were to stay in banking and finance, I wanted to do something more quantitative.
Mm.
Maybe be like an analyst quant or something like that. And
Yeah.
it got boring. Um, and I wanted something a little more hands-on, right?
Gotcha.
So math, science, always my strong suit, high school through undergrad. But I had not gone the engineering route or, any other math or science route
Hmm.
then, because one of my goals at the time was to work for one of the federal agencies, right?
I want to be a
That was
Fed.
Homeland
Want to be a
Security.
Fed,
Yeah,
huh?
exactly. So
I
that was my reason for my undergrad degree. And then, when
see.
I graduated, we were just still coming out of like the 2008 recession, and all the government agencies, the jobs were locked up at the time. So
Yeah.
I just kind of ended up falling into banking and finance, right? So it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do because I didn't want to spend all that time doing that,
Hmm.
right? It's kind of a waste. So I ended up taking some post-grad classes to kind of prep for that over at Columbia while I was working full time.
He's a
And
brain dude. I'm
then
telling you.
say what?
You're a smart guy. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
I mean, we have degrees too, but I've seen what you do in the engineering realm of things. But so you ended up getting your
yeah.
Master's degree in engineering or
Yeah,
electrical
ended up getting my
engineering.
master's degree in engineering. And then, that's kind of when I think you started going out with Melissa more or less. And, I got to know
Around that
you a little
time.
better.
Hmm.
And, we started talking about a couple of different tech startup ideas, one that we've been working on over the past number of years on
Yeah,
and off, right? That
on
we're
and
still
off.
trying to get launched.
Yeah, so like every
Um,
time we get ahead in our
Yeah.
tech startup that we're doing, there's always as life, there's always something that takes us back, like 2 steps back. And
yeah.
I think we're at that point now where we're about to the catalyst. We have a catalyst, so we're going to jump ahead again. But I'm
Mhm.
just preparing for that next downfall. But it is what it is, right? That's
Yeah.
why
You
it's
guys
good to
are
have multiple
teasing the
projects.
viewers. Or is there anything?
Right,
you guys-
exactly.
What is it? Come on.
It's real estate related. It's just like it's AI to help people like myself lead generate. More so, someone that's semi-seasoned or seasoned, but that does the dirty work, hits the pavement, right, and knocks doors, cold calls, and it's a lot of probabilities of who's likely to sell, and you contact those people on the list.
Right on.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
guys,
that's
keep
what
an
we're
eye
working
out
on.
for that.
Yeah. So the goal
It's
is
coming soon.
if it works out well, I'm going to use it first. Goal is I profit off of it, and then I'm going to build a team maybe, and then
Show that it
license it
works.
out.
Make sure that it's
Right.
The minimal viable product is basically me. If it works for me, I can extend it out to people that I know, the
Right.
realtors, and then if it works for them and we fix the bugs or whatever, then we expand it out and license it out to other brokers.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, another blocker that we've hit is we just have so many different ideas, right?
Yeah.
And it's a matter of kind of prioritizing which ones we should focus on first.
Although I always try and keep Nick back to the focus of just this one for now,
Do the
because
one, yeah.
we have other ideas, but I'm like, you know what? If we had more
You're not gonna
time,
finish them all.
no, we got to
like,
focus on one and just execute it all the way through until it fails or not, and see where it goes. But Nick, tell us your full count moment that you had in at work or personal life. I mean, we shared ours. I'd like to hear yours.
I would have to say in that transition
Mm-hmm.
from when I was working at JP in New York to prepping and taking classes over at Columbia in order to get into the program that I needed. So I knew what I wanted and where I wanted to go, right? But at the time I was working anywhere from 8 to 10-hour days, right? I was living back in South Brooklyn. So I wasn't in Manhattan. I had looked to move into the city, but what happened was when I actually moved up there at first, I was just staying with my grandmother for, a temporary time until I found an apartment. And when I started living with her, I started realizing that she had been forgetting a lot more,
Oh no.
kind of getting the onsets of Alzheimer's, right? Um, and just really bouncing on her bills, overdrawing her checking account, not paying her,
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
credit card bills, even, you know, her bills that when it came to the electricity and the gas and everything that had to do with the house, right? So I ended up having to really stay there and kind of manage everything financially, but also care for her, right, as much as I could when I was
All,
home.
all while you're
Um,
doing the whole transition, right? So you're dealing
right.
with that on the personal side.
Yep.
And 10
I mean,
hours
all
of
3 years
work.
I was there in New York while I was working 8 to 10 hours, and then the last probably year, maybe a little more, was probably the hardest because, you know, I was working full time and I was commuting at least an hour, hour and a half one way on the train.
Mhm.
And then taking, you know, three classes over at Columbia, which were, you know, physics, math classes. So they weren't necessarily like any social science or art classes or anything like that. Not to
Right,
downplay
right.
those, but, you know,
Yeah.
they were a little more time consuming,
For
right?
sure.
Right.
So then
So,
it was all the stress leading up to where you are today, right?
oh,
The
definitely.
transition is what it
Yep.
was your
Was
moment,
my, yeah,
full
that
count
probably
moment.
like year or so was probably my full count moment for sure. But it got
Yeah.
me to where I want to go. And I
You went
mean,
through it.
exactly, and it paid off. It paid off. I mean, my grandmother ended up moving, finally convincing her and getting her to move down with my parents, and my
Mhm.
parents took care of her for, you know, the years that she had lived after that. And I mean, I ended up, you know, getting a job with the company I wanted, doing what I wanted, um, having the flexibility to work remotely, but also travel here and there. Some, you know, a lot of times overseas, over to Europe and different places. So
To
I've
get it out.
definitely been blessed for sure. So it was
Yeah.
worth it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. So we've all undertaken some a little bit of hell to get to where we
Yeah.
are.
Like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I think it
definitely.
just comes down to being in a pressure situation with the full count, like in baseball, right? Three balls, two strikes. You're either going to walk, strike out, or get on base by hitting or home run. So at that point, it's just a matter of executing your plan, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and doing the best you can. And even though you have these obstacles, you just do your best to get ahead and not really look for ways to complain.
And yeah, and the full count moment presents different options. Like, and it's going to be unique to everybody. Like,
Yeah.
I gave a kind of a small example as to
Yeah.
what that would have been for me,
For sure.
but everybody's got, you could say, like a full count moment where you can have the positives, the negatives, the kind of goods, the really goods,
Yeah.
the damn it, you're out.
That's
Right.
true.
You get hit by a pitch. I don't know.
Exactly.
That one
So
hurts.
would you say that's why our viewers and listeners should, you know, listen to the show to
Yeah, I think
hear
so. I think because
different versions?
absolutely. And just kind of, we all going to bounce ideas off each other as to how
sure.
we got through it, you know, how things could have been maybe. I don't like to dwell on that too much, but just what we can do to move forward. And, you know, we're all learning through this process, I think, too, still.
We will continue to. And that's why we're like a community of people, you know, looking to execute and get to where we want to be, regardless of the hurdles that come our way. And then finding a way to come up with a plan to attack those problems to get ahead.
Right.
So I think that's kind
and I mean,
of what we're gonna have.
hopefully we could give some information back, and that's why we help you, you know, get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and you know, primarily we're going to talk a lot about real estate, home improvement when it comes to like remodels, things like that, wealth building wealth, and getting guests on here that have more expertise than we do in a particular industry or whatever the case may be. And that's where I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I'm excited to pick people's minds.
For
Like,
sure.
Like, see, you know, in their full count moment, what were they thinking? Or how did they move past that thing? Like, I love talking to people and hearing what their thought process was in that situation, what they had on the line, what they were risking.
For sure.
And, you know, why they still went with that choice. So I'm excited to talk to people like that too.
And as well as like, I think what's needed too in this type of environment right now that we're having in society is more critical thinking. So we're going to bounce off ideas off each other where we may agree or not agree, and just see what makes the most logical sense. And obviously some emotion involved too, but I think critical thinking is very key, and it should be a lot of fun. It should be good.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And
Excited.
one last thing, we're going to talk at the very end, not in this episode, but the next ones and the ones coming up ahead, current events, which is where I feel like we're going to have a lot of fun, and that's where we get our minds to think about what's going on in the world around us and how it can affect our industries or other industries.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah, look forward to that. And guys, hope you stick with us, and hope to see you on the next Full Count episode. So, and if you like what you're seeing, let us know in the comments, feedback, suggestions, anything specific. Let us know. Open to feedback, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.